This is Cool Japan, and today we're going to take a look at this SH Figuarts Super Saiyan Full Power Broly figure. This is a really awesome figure, so let's just take a look at it. First up, let's take a look at the accessories. There aren't that many, but he does come with 6 sets of hands. He comes out of the box with these fisted hands, which look really nice. They're huge, and you can see his sculpted nails. They're not painted in any way, but they look great. Next up, he comes with these grasping, kind of charging up hands. They also look pretty good. Pretty standard with Figuarts. And then we've got the open palmed key blast hands, which work pretty well. Not too much movement there, but they look nice. Also, I want to point out that they connect to this double ball joint. It's not a hinge joint like they normally are. Next up, he comes with 3 different face plates. The first one is this neutral kind of angry face. Looks really nice. He's in full power mode, so he doesn't have any pupils. But yeah, the sculpt on the face is done really well. Next up, he comes with this smiling, kind of crazy looking face, which looks awesome. Awesome. Check that out. And last up, we've got the yelling, screaming, angry face, which I like the most, I think. Just looks awesome. And let me just show you guys how you change the faces. You pull off the front part of the hair, pop off the face, and just replace it. Very easy. And I like how the hair is not painted at all, because then there's going to be no paint rub, which is, I love it when there's no paint rub. Alright. So that is all the accessories. He doesn't come with a stand, and he doesn't come with any other special effects or anything else. Just the 3 sets of hands and 3 faces, which is not bad because he is a huge figure. So next up, let's take a look at the sculpt and paintwork. So looking at the sculpt of this figure, he does look really good without being too exaggerated. Like, I remember the first Broly figure that we got was huge. Like, his chest was huge, his shoulders were huge, and he had those huge pants. He was just a giant figure, and it looked kind of wonky. But if you look at this one, his shoulders aren't as big, and his chest muscles are a little bit more compact, which makes him look much better, in my opinion. Let's look at his hair sculpt. Looks really nice. Yeah, I like how that looks. His face looks awesome. There is a lot of paintwork on this. There's shading throughout the torso and his arms. Kind of hard to see, but you can see the scars and stuff, and there's shading going throughout. Also on his shoulders there's some shading, and on his back there is shading as well. Also on the butterfly joints you will see some paintwork there. Going down to his skirt piece, there is no shading on this, actually. It's molded in this green plastic with the white parts painted. I was worried that this would get in the way of articulation, but it's made of a soft material, so it doesn't. There is no way to take it off, however, because it's connected to his waist. Going down to his legs, I don't think there is much shading. And I like the matte finish throughout, except on his knees. His knees are a little bit shiny, but that's not a huge deal. You've got his boots, which are painted nicely. Bottoms are just flat. So yeah, overall he looks great. There is a lot of detail on it, and his scars are all nicely detailed and painted. Alright, so let's take a look at the articulation next. Let's start off at the head. He can look down quite a bit, like all the way into his chest. He can tuck in his chin. That's awesome because he's going to be looking down on his opponents pretty much all the time. One drawback with his hair is that it doesn't allow him to look up. You get a tiny bit, but he's pretty much just looking straight on, straight. It doesn't go up at all, which is kind of a bummer, but you know, what else can you do? Next, let's look at the shoulder joints. He does have this butterfly joint right there. It doesn't go as far as I'd like it to because I wanted to pose him with his fists together or him clenching his fists, but his butterfly joints don't really allow them to go enough. Right, let's look at his arm. His arm can go out that much, which is awesome. He can rotate all the way around, which is good. He also has a cut at his shoulder. This doesn't seem to go all the way around because the sculpt kind of hinders it. The muscles kind of hinder it. But that's about well, it's about as much as you would expect. And he's got a double elbow joint. He can bend his arm about a little bit over 90 degrees. Or is that exactly 90 degrees? A little bit. The sculpt on his elbow is kind of weird with these little pointed out parts, but doesn't bother me too much. There is no cut at the wrist, and his hand is on that double ball peg. Next up, we can see how much he can crunch. He does crunch a fair bit. He can look, with his neck, he can look straight down, which is cool. He doesn't arch his back at all, which is another unfortunate thing. I mean, he can arch his back a little bit, just a little bit, so he can kind of look up. Yeah, not too much though. And then going down, we can see his skirt piece is a very soft rubber, so it's very nice. He can move his legs around with no problem. And the back part of his skirt is on a hinge right there. It's not the rubber just bending. There's an actual hinge right there. If you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. So his skirt piece goes back all the way. It just, it doesn't get in the way at all. So that's awesome. Next up, let's take a look at the legs. He can kick out all the way. He can pretty much do the splits, which I love it when Figuarts can do this. I mean, the Dragon Ball figures, I love it when they can spread out their legs all the way. I hate it when they can't do that. The 2.0 bodies, they can't. Most of the time, they can't kick straight out. He can kick out with his legs about that much, almost all the way. His butt kind of hinders it from moving back. But, you know, how much more do you need? His knee joints are on a double joint, so he can bend his knees about that much. A little bit more than 90 degrees. Pretty much all you need. There is no cut at the shins, but he does have a nice movement on his feet. You can pivot his ankle about that much. Pretty good. And he does have a toe joint, which doesn't look great. It just looks like, I don't know. It doesn't look good. But I guess it works out. So yeah, the articulation is done really well. Oh, and you can swivel his leg right here at the thigh. So all in all, he does have a lot of good articulation. He can get into a ton of poses. So next, let's take a look at the size comparisons. Here he is next to Goku and Gogeta, which are the standard Dragon Ball Figuarts size. He is a good deal taller, which is perfect because he's supposed to be huge. It looks great. Here he is next to Fat Boo and Super Boo. He is still taller than both of them, which is pretty amazing because Super Boo is another really tall character, but even from the top of his head to the top of Broly's head, Broly is a little bit taller. Awesome. Here he is next to the figurized standard Broly. This is the model kit Broly. I don't have the original Figuarts Broly, which really sucks. That is a figure that I really want. But I do have the next best thing, which is the model kit. And they are roughly about the same height. So you can see that the full power movie Broly is not too much taller than the original Broly, which is cool. His skin tone is a lot darker though, which is fine. And last up, here he is next to Nappa, which is another one of the bigger figures. Broly is a lot taller, so I think he is the tallest Dragon Ball Figuarts figure that there is. I mean, other than the huge dragon guy, but yeah, this is great. So all in all, I would say this is a great figure to get. His height is good, his sculpt work is really good, and the articulation is amazing. So definitely, if you have the chance, get this figure. If you don't have it pre-ordered yet, you really need to get one of these because he is fantastic. I mean, Figuarts is doing really good with the Dragon Ball line these days with Super Boo and even Boo and also Great Saiyaman. They're doing so much better. I mean, they're fixing all the mistakes that they had before. The articulation is just really good. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and let's check out some photos.